All right, time now for Better Travel. Today we're talking about California wine country.
Hey! Yes. And our travel guru, Kimmery Evans, is here because she just got back from Napa Valley and she is sharing some of her top picks for places to do and see, things to see and wine to drink, apparently.
I come bearing presents.
And what do you got there?
I have my very own blend of wine that I made myself.
Isn't that amazing?
I know, so I'm a winemaker now. It is. It's the KM blend.
Vintage.
It is. It's a Cabernet. I would give it 6 months.
Give it at least 6 months.
6 months.
Otherwise, I could use it on my salad.
Hey, now. It's a high-end blend. I made this myself. I learned how to be a winemaker.
See, now I've always wanted to go to the Napa Valley, and I've never been. Tell me, is it as wonderful as everybody thinks it is?
It is as wonderful as everybody thinks it is, and it's better than it used to be. So it's gotten hipper. There's a lot more going on. There's some really fun things to do that I think not everybody knows about.
Okay.
But like, I think of it as only a trip for adults. Would you actually bring your family there?
Personally, I wouldn't, but people would. There are people who would, and I actually talk about a hotel that has family-style rooms. They have great pools, and they will get you a babysitter while you are out doing tastings. The Carneros Inn.
How do you start? Where do you start?
So I would start by looking at the wine experiences that you want to have, because you want to book them. I think what a lot of people do is they know that you can show up, right?
Right.
Show up in the tasting room, try some wines. They're not going to give you their best wines, their reserve wines, the things that you're not going to get, you know, at any wine store, and you're also not going to get the education. That's where it gets really fun.
Right.
Is when you spend time with somebody who's really explaining to you how the wines are made, or the difference between brut and disgorged and champagne. That's really fabulous.
Okay. And you have a map of Napa that you like.
I do, because it's big. So I think people think, oh, I'm going to go to Napa Valley. It's not small. So kind of think about where you want to be. I love St. Helena. That's my favorite spot.
Because that's my daughter's name, so I have to just go there.
Oh, so there you go. And my favorite hotel is there. And from the hotel, you can sort of walk into town, and then you kind of want to pick your experiences somewhat close to each other. You don't want to be driving a lot when you've been doing wine tastings.
And there are three pieces of advice you say to get going.
Yes. So I think the first thing you want to do is pick an area. Don't book more than 2 wineries a day. I've heard of people who book 3, 4, 5. Like, that's just miserable.
You don't want to,
and you forget everything. Like, how can you really enjoy anything when you're doing that? It's not a trophy hunt.
Right.
You know, go really enjoy. Do the private tastings. Like I said, it's a big difference between what you're going to learn and experience if you sit down for a private tasting versus if you just show up in the tasting room, they pour you a little taste, you knock it back, and you move on. And if you join the wine clubs, I didn't know this was a thing. So wine clubs are a total thing, and you get wines that don't ever make it to the, I was talking to the producer, I'm like, you know, that don't make it to the grocery store.
Right.
But not everybody buys their wine at the grocery store. They don't make it to the wine shop. There's a lot of wine that goes straight to consumer. So if you're a member of a wine club, you're going to get special wines that never make it to anybody but the people in their wine club.
Okay.
So tell us about Con Creek.
So this is where this came from. And so they're really famous for their Cabernets, and I didn't know much about it. And they have something called the barrel blending experience. Look how serious I am about my wine making.
You really are. You're
I am
into it.
serious about it. So they have all these different barrels of Cabernet grapes that were grown in different areas. Like, one is more fruity, one is more oaky, one is more this, one is more that. And you start mixing them up, and you actually create your own Cabernet blend based on what you like.
Yeah, did you try it? Or are you waiting 6 months?
I tried a lot of it. Which is why I was like, I'm trying to remember. I think there was some Malbec on the top, which is another reason to only do 2 a day. But yes, tried it, and it was really good. And so you leave with a bottle of your own, and if you really like your own blend, they'll ship you a whole case, and you can give it out as gifts.
Fantastic. I love that.
That's cool.
Durant and Booth.
Oh, I'm obsessed with this little wine tasting room. So this is from the Rudd family, and it's in this little house that was from the turn of the century. It looks like a little jewel box, and they just make perfect wines. You do the tasting. It's called the Dapper, which is after this lawmaker who never arrested anybody for, you know, drinking during Prohibition. So he's on my team.
He's
my team.
Heart.
Exactly. Right. And you get a little bit of food, which is important when you're drinking wine.
Yep.
Okay.
And then you have a place, Domaine Carneros. They have the ultimate chips and dip.
this was ridiculous. This was amazing. So they make champagne, and it's the Tattinger family. So you probably know French champagne, Tattinger. This is U.S. sparkling wine, right? If it's not grown in Champagne, it's not champagne, it's sparkling wine. And you book this, it's $350 for a couple, and you get 3 or 4 different kinds of caviar and a bunch of different champagne. You can tell I don't really completely remember the whole thing.
Right, that's great.
And there's this amazing guide who's going to explain to you all the little different variations. Like when you grab a bottle of champagne, do you know what it means when it says brut on there? Do you know what late disgorged grapes are? And you really, because you get to try the different ones, you get a sense for what you like.
Yeah. Now, obviously, you need a safe place to stay during all this. Where do you go?
My favorite hotel is in St. Helena. It's brand new. It's called Las Alcobas, and it is gorgeous.
Oh my
you
God,
can see the vineyards in the
stunning
background. Everything about it is perfection. It is not family friendly. You can see that's a fire pit on my patio that is not protected.
Oh,
you don't want to bring kids here.
No.
You don't want kids don't want to be here, but for a couple or a girls' weekend, it's extraordinary.
And the Canara,
that's where you would bring a family.
That's where you would bring a family.
I haven't stayed there because I didn't bring my family.
Well, good. It looks beautiful, though,
it's
right?
gorgeous.
It has a big pool. That's requirement number 1.
Exactly. It's got 2 big pools. It's got homes with kitchens, everything that you would need to bring the family.
Nice.
Stunning.
All right, well, you can follow Kim Marie all around the world by visiting her website, luxurytravelmom.com, and you'll also find lots of travel advice and inspiration, and you can review all of her tips.
Call me?